you guys, I can go ahead and read the prompt of ours for this week.
Okay.
Okay, so the prompt is focusing on public leadership and leadership in a crisis. Discuss ways that you believe organizations can prepare leaders at all levels to respond in crisis. Consider in this discussion the communication issues faced by BP in the spill and failures of crisis communication. So, does anyone have any first thoughts on that?
I can go ahead.
Okay.
Cool with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think public leaders should be always ready to deal with any problem they face. But before they become leaders, they should also go through like a lot of scenarios thrown at them as like a practice for them. I think that's when experience comes to play. I think experience is very important to face crisis because a lot of leaders haven't faced like a crisis before, so they could be overwhelmed with problems and lose focus. And like communication on time is very important because if they're late doing one thing, they could lead to a big problem. I also think leaders should also train people working under them and give them all the tips needed to adapt and overcome any crisis they face.
Yeah, I agree. I think on top of experience comes like they would need preparation. Like if a leader doesn't have like a game plan, if in case something goes wrong in every different situation, then I think they're doing things wrong. You know, they should always assume what if the worst were to happen and kind of have a plan A, a plan B, because if they don't, and when crisis happens, people are going to immediately turn to them. And if they have no answer or no idea of what to do, it'll just show a lack of preparation and, you know, that he or she wasn't looking out for, you know, the rest of the group the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. Like my mom, she works for Kaiser Permanente now. She's worked there for a while, and they regularly have drills of all different types. Like even ones that don't really pertain, you know, to like this area.
Yeah.
Really, they have those drills though. So I think that's like they have organizational culture and like certain ways, like they do prepare. You know, the leaders prepare the organization, the members, for if something were to go wrong and happen, you know, like consider like an epidemic or something, you know, like how is Kaiser going to handle that?
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting you bring up Kaiser Permanente, just being in healthcare. In addition to the other roles that I do, I'm also the safety officer at our facilities, also in healthcare for 2 surgery centers. And some of the requirements, like with our accrediting bodies, they require you to do drills. Like you have to do a fire drill 4 times a year and a disaster drill once a year. And I lead those at our centers, and you know, we run the drills. And I think there's a quote actually on page 419 by Giannis Gabriel that was, "A degree of paranoia helps protect organizations," and I think that's key. You know, it's about practicing, and you know, it talks about pre-crisis leadership, and that's, you know, preparing for the worst. And we do that in our centers by you know, we'll simulate a fire. I mean, I can't actually light a fire, but you know, I'll just print out a sign of like a flame, you know, and tape that to the microwave, and you know, act as if there was a fire there, and wait for somebody to notice it. And they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And it's like, "It's a fire. What would you do?" You know, and people are like, well, it's like, go pull the fire alarm, you know. So it's amazing. People like see that and they're like, and then they like don't know how to respond, you know. So it gets better and better though, because now people see it and they just like, oh, turn to the closest, you know, fire pole and pull the fire alarm, you know, and sets it off, and that sets the whole drill into motion. So I think it's really important, the whole practicing part of it, because that is key.
Yeah.
Definitely. And like being up to standards, you know, like not getting complacent, like it says here.
Yeah.
On page 412, it discusses how, you know, the crisis stages, like how they play out basically. And under pre-crisis, it brings up and the oil spill, and it talks about how you know, basically the organization becomes complacent, the leaders aren't preparing for it, and the crisis is brewing, and they don't recognize it, and they don't take the proper, even like the standard, you know, like requirements seriously, regardless of, you know, planning for an actual crisis. Like the fact that they allowed all these safety standards to just, you know, like pass when they weren't up to code. Like that's, you know, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tying BP in like against the healthcare industry, right? So at least like from my standpoint, like I'm at least working for a healthcare center, which like a big part of our culture is helping people, you know, live better lives. You know, so helping people is a big part of it. So I can only imagine the trouble that the, you know, safety management team must have had at BP when they're trying to convince upper management that they need resources to make their plant safer when they have 20 deaths over 31 years and they're showing this evidence, and upper management still isn't moved to spend money to make things safer for their workers.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
I think really have no explanation for it. I watched, it was like, so I kind of took like a different approach, I guess, because I focused more on like crisis communication just based off of the spill video. It was just so weird to see like the CEO of the company not really like be able to explain himself about all the things that were going wrong. So basically what I said was that I feel like companies or leaders, whoever, should focus more on like not training, but like giving leaders the experience they need to communicate during different crises. Like, I guess if you're not like a strong public speaker, then you should maybe like have more experience doing that. Or like, for example, my aunt used to work for like an aluminum refining company, and she would write all of the CEO speeches and like speak. So she had a lot of experience doing that, but like he didn't really have experience.
Yeah.
Doing that kind of thing.
Was she like public relations for them? For the company?
Yeah. Yeah, she was. So I don't know if you've heard of Alcoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, she was the president of the Alcoa Foundation, which is basically like their philanthropic side of it. But then she also did like public relations too. So
yeah, I think BP, like when it comes down to it though, like when something huge like this happens, where it affects like, you know, like millions of people.
Right. The environment.
Like they want to, the environment, the ducks. I think that like they want to hear from like the leader, like the CEO. They don't want to hear, you know.
Right. Yeah.
No, and I think that's a big thing when it comes to any crisis, and even just like, you know, natural disasters or anything that happens. The first one to speak, it's like really important how they address the public and what they say. The way they say it sets like everyone else's mood. You know, if they're scared and fearful, everyone else is going to be scared. But if they have a little positivity and bring some unity, then I think that's when people kind of bind together. But in another like respect, if someone is saying the wrong things and don't know how to word whatever information and facts they're trying to put across, then that's how like rumors start, and then you have all these chains of, oh well, they said this happened and this happened, and then the actual story gets twisted, and that's how you have all these different stories and controversies like spinning out of control, which is why it's like super important to have that first address to the public after like one of these events be like someone who has the facts and knows how to, you know, like address the public and tell them to them rather than just, you know, just think whatever off the top of their head.
Yeah, especially
I think that's like one of the most important things.
Yeah, especially if it's like dancing around the truth, you know, like
I
think that like admitting your negligence would like probably come off a little bit better as far as like establishing some kind of trust, you know.
Yeah.
Right?
Shows it
I don't know, like no idea how this happened, you know. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so can you guys hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, in my opinion, like EP oil spill, I think it was a mess, and everyone knows that. And I think they absolutely had failure on crisis communication. And there's two reasons. Because you have to wait your lawyer to give you feedbacks. And I think that's what happened is them they were too careful to the point they were not proactive enough to keep the press communication process. So my opinion in leadership, there's always a figure of CEO or leaders of the company. They need to give a statement about the current situations through a public communication speaker. So because also is a big thing, and how do you address that, and how do you do provide to your employees or your investors, founders. Like I think it's very important to have a skill. I mean, the company to prepare leaders, and not only just the top leaders, but also like trickle down effect. You know, like everybody on the same page, know what's happening. And fail to communicate well in the price, you will face a bigger issue after that. You know, if you don't write the things at the first time and wait for it, it's gonna come back with bigger profit.
Yeah, I agree about that part you said of like keeping people on the same page. Not just in like crisis situations, because when you're in a crisis situation, like then you're keeping everyone on the same page. I feel like it's kind of too late, but just like throughout, I don't know, your time in the company is really important to help everyone like function properly, or like the organization function properly. But I guess it's especially important in a crisis because I don't know, everyone needs to kind of know what's going on to like effectively, you know, move forward and make changes.
Well, I think with a leader, like anytime you first notice something going wrong is when you need to take the first steps, not wait for it to get worse and worse.
Right.
So it's like constantly doing those routine checks like we were talking about, having like a compliance department that like, you know, is constantly like, even if nothing's wrong, making sure, doing double checks on everything, and then informing the company if there's even the smallest bit of discrepancy, and that way people can act on it and, like, you know, John was saying, be proactive rather than, you know, sitting back and just waiting for things to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's part of my job because I work in hospice, but I do like the office work. So like people at the end stage of their lives, that's who I, you know, handle like all the records and everything. And I reach out to the patients and I personally like ask them, hey, like, is anything going on, you know, that you don't exactly like do you go to doctors? Do they show up on time? Like, you know, do your medication on time? Is it working for you? You know, and like it's so important to get that feedback. You know, because most of the time it's totally gravy, but you know, other times there's
little things, and then the little things add up.
Yeah, and that could not having, you know, those notes in the system and that record of that being taken down and then addressed.
Yeah.
Could potentially, I mean, a lawsuit. Like, who knows what could happen? You know. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, preventative.
Yeah, communication practice is everything.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Wow. I think that was a good final group meeting. It's been fun chatting with all of you.
I know, every week.
Yeah.
How sad. Not going to talk anymore. It's all right.
We can still do Google Hangouts, guys.
Still later on, any thoughts we have on, you know, today's current topics, just hit up the Google chat.
Yeah.
Funny.
All right. Well, I guess we'll all talk tomorrow, huh?
I know. Yeah. Nikki, just text us whenever you send the final.
Yeah, and just if you could text me when you like email me.
Yeah.
Something, you know, and honestly, like the citations, generally, if it's like a journal thing, I can like totally fix it. I can handle it. So the most important things, like I really think would be helpful to focus on are the actual like bibliographies, making sure they have the four
Yeah.
things she
Yeah,
asked.
synthesis.
Yeah, the four specific things, because she wanted like a method, you know, which is like what method they used for the research and like everything else. I explained it in the email though. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So
You got it.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much.
Okay.
what did you say?
Thank
She
you.
said thank you.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Have a good night,
Okay.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.